Hello, future officers. Welcome back to the UPSC think tank. Today, we are diving deep into the critical developments shaping the current affairs landscape for the upcoming cycle. We aren't just reading headlines today, we are connecting the dots between polity, economy, and technology to give you that extra edge for your mains answers. Let's begin with a significant development in GS to polity, the President's call for stronger federalism and digital governance. Why is this coming up now? In the Republic Day address, the emphasis wasn't just on federalism in the traditional sense, but on cooperative federalism powered by technology. Look at the highlights. The President emphasized the need for greater fiscal autonomy for states. Aspirants, this is the core friction point in Indian polity right now. With the Finance Commission deliberations always in the backdrop, the debate over cess and surcharges reducing the divisible pool of taxes is critical. When you write an answer on center-state relations, you must mention this demand for fiscal space. Furthermore, notice the link to digital public infrastructure, or DPI. We usually study DPI in science and tech, but here it is being framed as a tool for federalism. Why? Because harmonized data policies allow the center and states to deliver schemes like PDS or Ayushman Bharat seamlessly. However, the slide rightly notes the challenge, data governance. In a federal setup, the question of who owns the data, the state or the center, is a potential area of conflict you need to be aware of. Let's test your static knowledge on this topic. The question asks, which article of the Indian Constitution deals with the establishment of a finance commission? The options are Article 280, Article 268, Article 293, and Article 301. If you have done your Lakshmikant, this should be automatic. The correct answer is A, Article 280. However, do not ignore the other options. Article 293 deals with borrowing by states, which is very relevant to the current fiscal crisis seen in certain states. Article 301 concerns freedom of trade. Connecting these articles gives you a holistic view. For your mains answer writing, look at the prompt at the bottom. Critically evaluate the role of digital public infrastructure in strengthening cooperative federalism. Here is a tip for your structure. Don't just list benefits. Discuss competitive federalism, where states compete to attract digital investments, but also cooperative federalism, where they share data stacks. That balance is your conclusion. Let's shift gears to GS3 economy. India's Q3 GDP surges amidst global slowdown. Context is everything here. The world is facing a polycrisis, geopolitical wars, and recessionary trends in the West. Yet, India is showing resilience. The slide points to domestic demand and manufacturing as the drivers. This validates the government's push for PLI schemes. Also, note the mention of government capital expenditure. The private sector investment cycle has been sluggish in previous quarters, so the government is doing the heavy lifting in infrastructure. However, be critical in your analysis. The slide mentions commodity price volatility and inflation. If the RBI keeps a cautious stance, borrowing costs remain high, which impacts MSMEs. So, when you analyze this growth, ask yourself, is it a K-shaped recovery or truly inclusive growth? That is the nuance UPSC looks for. Let's lock in a concept regarding monetary policy. The question is, which body is primarily responsible for setting the benchmark interest rate in India? A. Ministry of Finance, B. RBI Governor, C. Monetary Policy Committee, or D. Niti Aayog? The answer is C. The Monetary Policy Committee. Remember, the MPC was constituted under the Finance Act, 2016. It is a 6-member body, 3 from the RBI and 3 from the government, with the governor holding the casting vote. This institutional framework is crucial for maintaining inflation targeting within the 4% band. For the mains question regarding the key drivers of resilience, key phrases to use here would be domestic consumption, led growth, the China Plus One strategy, and prudent fiscal management. Moving to GS, to international relations. India-EU FTA nears breakthrough. This has been a marathon negotiation, often called the BTIA in the past. It is moving now because both India and the EU need to diversify supply chains away from China. But look at the challenges listed. IPR and geographical indications. The EU is very strict about protecting its specific regional products, like wines and cheeses. India, on the other hand, is protective of its generic pharma industry. That is a significant clash. Also, the last point is vital: environmental and labor standards. The EU wants to link trade with carbon emissions, such as through the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. India argues this is non-tariff protectionism. In your IR answers, always highlight this trade versus sustainability debate. Let's check your historical understanding of the European Union. The question asks, which of the following is not a founding member of the European Economic Community, the predecessor to the EU? A. France, B. Germany, C. Italy, or D. Spain? The answer is D. Spain. Spain joined much later, in 1986. The founding members, often called the Inner Six, included France, West Germany, Italy, and the Benelux countries. Why does this matter? It shows that the EU is an evolving entity, and understanding its core members helps in understanding its current protectionist tendencies. For the mains question on market access, focus on how Indian exporters need to upgrade quality standards to penetrate the European market effectively. Next, let's look skyward with GS, 3 Science and Technology. ISRO launches Advanced Earth Observation Satellite. Don't just memorize the launch vehicle. Ask, what is the utility? The slide mentions disaster management and resource mapping. In GS, 3 Disaster Management, you can cite this development. Real-time data helps in pre-disaster planning through early warnings and post-disaster recovery through damage assessment. This is also crucial for agriculture, specifically for monitoring crop health to settle insurance claims under the PM Fasal Bima Yojana. This is how you link space tech to agriculture and governance. Let's test your technical knowledge of ISRO's fleet. Which launch vehicle is primarily used by ISRO for launching heavier geostationary satellites? The options are PSLV, GSLV, SSLV, or RLV-TD. The answer is B, GSLV. The geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle uses the cryogenic upper stage. It is essential for heavy lifting to the orbit of 36,000 kilometers. While PSLV is the workhorse for polar orbits, GSLV is our heavy lifter. For the mains question on space technology for development, use the keyword space-based societal applications. It's not just about reaching the moon, it's about solving problems here on Earth. Coming back to the ground, let's look at GS, to social justice and health. New National Health Mission focuses on prevention. This is a paradigm shift. The slide notes a move from curative to preventive. Why is this important? Because India faces a dual burden of disease, infectious diseases and rising lifestyle diseases like diabetes and hypertension. You cannot simply cure your way out of lifestyle diseases, you must prevent them. The mention of the Ayushman Bharat digital mission is key here. A universal health ID creates a longitudinal medical history for every citizen, reducing redundancy and errors. Also, note the health and wellness centers. These are not just clinics, they are intended to be the first line of defense in rural India. Let's verify your understanding of the flagship scheme. The Ayushman Bharat scheme primarily aims to provide A. Health insurance, B. Education loans, C. Housing, or D. Skill development. The correct answer is A. Specifically, PM Jai provides 5 lakh rupees per family per year for secondary and tertiary care. It represents the world's largest government-funded healthcare program. For the mains question on challenges in implementation, you must discuss out-of-pocket expenditure, which remains high despite schemes, and the critical infrastructure gaps that still exist in rural areas. Now, a critical update for GS-3 internal security. India successfully tests advanced hypersonic missile. This is a game changer. Hypersonic means speeds greater than Mach 5. But the real key here is maneuverability. Unlike ballistic missiles, which follow a predictable arc, hypersonic missiles can change course, making them extremely difficult for missile defense systems to intercept. This boosts India's strategic autonomy. We are joining an elite club of nations with this capability. In your security answers, link this to the legacy of the Integrated Guided Missile Development Program and the need for credible deterrence in the Indian Ocean region. Quick check on the institutional framework. Which organization is primarily responsible for indigenous defense research and development in India? A. HAL, B. DRDO, C. BAIL, or D. OFB? The answer is B. DRDO. While HAL focuses on manufacturing, DRDO is the brain behind the research and development. For the mains question on the geopolitical landscape, discuss how this balances the power dynamic with neighbors like China, who have already deployed hypersonic weapons. It is about maintaining strategic equilibrium. Moving to a pressing crisis in GS-1 urbanization and GS-3 environment. Major cities grapple with acute water scarcity. This is the reality of day zero approaching many Indian metros. The causes listed are rapid urbanization and climate change. But look deeper at inefficient water management. We have a paradox in India: floods during the monsoon and drought in the summer. The solution lies in the slide's mention of wastewater recycling. We currently treat water as a single-use product, which is unsustainable. We need to move toward a circular water economy. Let's look at the policy response. Which of the following is a key component of the Jal Jeevan mission? The options focus on rural households, urban floods, river linking, or desalination. The answer is A. Providing piped water to rural households. The target is Har Ghar Jal. But note, the slide discussion is about urban scarcity. Do not confuse Jal Jeevan Mission, which is rural-focused, with Amrit, which is urban-focused. For the mains question, propose sponge cities, cities designed to absorb rain and aquifer mapping as concrete solutions. As we confirmed, the answer is A. Pay attention to the syllabus connection, National Water Policy. You should quote the National Water Policy of 2012, which prioritize drinking water needs over agricultural or industrial use. This hierarchy is essential when writing about resource allocation conflicts. Now, a topic central to governance and ethics. Reforms proposed for civil services recruitment. The committee recommends focusing on ethical leadership. Why? Because in a digital age, technical skills can be learned, but integrity is foundational and harder to instill later. The slide mentions performance-based appraisals. This hints at the ongoing debate around lateral entry and the periodic review of officers. The ultimate goal is a citizen-centric bureaucracy moving from a rule-based approach to a role-based approach, ensuring officers are accountable to the people, not just the process. Let's test your awareness of current capacity building schemes. The Mission Karmayogi program is associated with A. Agriculture, B. Civil services capacity building, C. Industry, or D. Space. The answer is B. Mission Karmayogi aims to create an IGOT, Integrated Government Online Training Platform. It is about moving away from siloed training to continuous, lifelong learning. For the mains question on continuous reforms, argue that the colonial steel frame needs to evolve into a flexible fiberglass frame, strong yet adaptable enough to handle modern challenges like cyber warfare and climate change. As noted, the correct answer is B. The syllabus connection mentions institutions like LBSNA and the National Police Academy. These are the training grounds where these reforms will be implemented. When you discuss reforms, referencing these institutions adds weight to your answer. Let's go to the fields with GS 3 Agriculture. New Agri export policy targets global markets. The overarching goal is doubling farmers' income. You cannot achieve that solely by selling wheat and rice at MSP. You need value addition and access to niche markets, such as organic produce. The slide highlights FPOs, or Farmer Producer Organizations. FPOs give small farmers the collective bargaining power of a large corporation. This is crucial for aggregation and ensuring the export quality compliance that global markets demand. Who manages this export ecosystem? Which organization is primarily responsible for the promotion of agricultural exports? A. NABARD, B. APIDA, C. FCI, or D. NAFT? The answer is B. APIDA. A common prelims trap is to assume APIDA falls under the Ministry of Agriculture. It actually operates under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. For the mains question, discuss the sanitary and phytosanitary measures of the WTO that often block Indian exports. Overcoming these non-tariff barriers is the real challenge for our exporters. Finally, we address the digital elephant in the room, GS 2 Polity and GS 3 Cybersecurity. Data Protection Bill faces implementation hurdles. The Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023 is law, but the implementation rules are tricky. The slide mentions data localization. This implies that companies must process certain Indian data within India. While good for sovereignty, this increases costs for startups and global tech giants. Also, look at the SME compliance issue. Can a small app developer afford the same data security protocols as a global giant? Probably not. This regulatory burden is a significant concern for the startup ecosystem. Let's end with the landmark judgment that started it all. The right to privacy was affirmed as a fundamental right, in which case. The options include Keswananda Bharti, Minerva Mills, Puttaswamy, and S.R. Bommai. The answer is C. Justice K.S. Puttaswamy, retired, v. Union of India. This 2017 judgment declared privacy a fundamental right under Article 21. It is the bedrock upon which the entire Data Protection Act stands. For the mains question, discuss the privacy versus innovation trade-off. How do we protect citizen data without stifling the digital economy? As confirmed, the answer is C. The syllabus connection here is direct, individual rights versus state interest. Understanding the nuances of the Puttaswamy judgment allows you to argue both sides of the privacy debate effectively. Aspirants, that wraps up our deep dive for today. Notice the pattern across these topics. Whether it is federalism, health, or agriculture, technology and governance are becoming inseparable. When you revise these slides, don't just memorize the facts. Think about the interconnections. How does the Data Protection Bill impact the health mission? How does the hypersonic missile capability impact our foreign policy stance? Keep analyzing, keep writing, and stay consistent with your revision. We will see you in the next session.